Welcome to My Real Estate Champion with your host, Frank Rustin, where home seeker dreams come to life. You will be empowered with knowledge on how to build wealth in the real estate market, estate planning, and programs for first-time home buyers. It's time to move on up with the real estate champion, Frank Rustin.
This is Frank Rustin, real estate champion, where home seekers' dreams come to life. I'm so excited because I'm talking about a subject matter that I love talking about, and that is about first-time home buyers. I have with me Joni from Virginia Housing, and she will give you a little brief background about herself before we start getting into the questions going to educate you about first-time home buyer program. Welcome, Joni. Thanks for being here.
Oh my gosh, Frank, thank you so much for having me. And I'm the Central Virginia Business Development Officer for Virginia Housing. My background is also a love of real estate and lending. I was a loan officer for, I'm going to show you my age, over 25 years in the Richmond area, and I came to Virginia Housing in 2018 and love our mission and love what Virginia Housing does for the first-time home buyer and our community.
I know at one time, for years, the Virginia Housing was called Virginia Housing Development Authority. So what made that change come about?
Oh, that's a great question. Virginia Housing Development Authority, that is actually still our legal name, Frank. But what we did is forward-facing. We felt like the communities didn't really understand that we're all about housing. So we decided in 2020 to change our name forward-facing from Virginia Housing Development Authority, or otherwise known as VHDA, to Virginia Housing. Mm-hmm. So we feel like it describes better what we do.
This is Frank Rustin, your real estate champion, where home seekers' dreams come to life. I'm so excited to give you the keys that will unlock doors to become a determined first-time home buyer and first-time home seller. Special tips to become a successful first-time real estate investor. Join me today. I have the keys you need and move on up with Frank Rustin, your real estate champion.
Hold your keys up. Hey! They just bought their new home. Shake the keys. Let the people see. It's possible if you believe.
Well, one of the things that I know of Virginia Housing for many years, they really specialize in working with first-time home buyers. And what I'd like to ask you about certain programs they have under, for first-time home buyers. Some people don't have to be a first-time home buyer. However, they may have been in housing for 3 years, but now having to own a home in 3 years, but now they come back into the market. So talk about some of the programs that you do have.
Well, Frank, we were started in 1972 by the Virginia General Assembly, and our mission is to provide quality, affordable housing for all Virginians. And one of those programs we have is a down payment assistance grant. So if you are a first-time home buyer, and as Frank said, he mentioned 3 years. So first-time home buyer, our definition is somebody that has not owned and occupied a primary residence in the last 3 years. So you could own rental property, and if you haven't lived in it in the last 3 years, you could use our down payment assistance money and become a first-time home buyer through the Virginia Housing Program.
Now, one of the things that I found that I learned is that some of these grant money programs, they attach themselves as far as 5 years, as far as to the property. But the programs you offer, they don't do that?
Well, that's we have 2 different down payment assistance programs. Okay. The first one, which I love to talk about, I like to talk about both of them actually, is our down payment assistance grant. And our grants, as Frank said, do not attach themselves to the property. It's free. So the grants do not have to be repaid. We do have income limits, and so the income limits for our grant is going to be a little bit less than the income limits for our other down payment assistance program, which is a plus second mortgage. So we can give you 100% financing or even 102% financing to include some closing cost on our down payment plus second mortgage. But unlike the grant, that has to be repaid.
What are some of the guidelines, especially when you start looking at credit scores? I know that's a big thing with certain lenders. And to my understanding, Virginia Housing Authority, or Virginia Housing, they may look at a credit score around 620, 610, or what is the guideline as far as that is concerned?
Well, for the government loans, which include FHA, VA, and USDA loans, so those minimum credit scores are 620. If you want to go with a conventional loan, the minimum credit score is 640.
When you start looking at 100% financing and down payment assistance, how you determine how much money it's going to be? Is it based upon whatever the rate is, or based upon whatever the loan amount is?
That's a great question. It is based upon the sales price.
Okay.
So our down payment assistance grant gives 2% of the sales price. So to make it easy, if you're buying a house for $200,000, the minimum down payment for a conventional loan would be 3%. So that's $6,000, and we're going to give you $4,000 of that $6,000.
Okay.
I like to think of Virginia Housing as an umbrella. Okay, and underneath the umbrella, we are going to be just like any other lender out there. Okay, we sell to all the agencies, which are those, we love our acronyms in this business. So that's FHA, VA, USDA, Fannie Mae, and Freddie Mac. Okay, so you would first determine, we have a network of about 90 approved lenders throughout the state of Virginia. So your customer would be referred to a lender. They would go to the lender and they would determine that this is a good client for a conventional loan, or this is a good client for an FHA loan, or if it's a veteran, it's a good client for a veteran's loan. And then what we do at Virginia Housing is pile on benefits. We just pile them on top of that loan. So we're either going to give you a closing cost assistance grant if you go with a government loan of a VA or USDA, or we're going to give you a down payment grant or a plus second mortgage. And then we have some other specialty products that we can couple with those as well.
This is Frank Rustin, your real estate champion, where home seekers' dreams come to life. I'm so excited to give you the keys that will unlock doors to become a determined first-time home buyer and first-time home seller. Special tips to become a successful first-time real estate investor. Join me today. I have the keys you need, and move on up with Frank Rustin, your real estate champion.
Hold your keys up. Hey! They just bought their new home. Shake the keys. Let the people see. It's possible if you believe.
Now, one of the products that I'm thinking you may be speaking about is a mortgage credit certificate. So talk to me about that.
On every one of our loans, you can do a combo of a mortgage credit certificate and whatever grant or down payment or closing cost assistance. And the mortgage credit certificate stays with the borrower for the life of the loan. And every single year, they get to have a tax credit. It is a dollar for dollar tax credit of 10% of their mortgage interest paid. So, if you have a tax liability when you flip over that second page of your 1040 tax return, and that tax liability is $2,000 or $3,000, and your 10% of mortgage interest paid for that year is $10,000, you get to take 10% of that, so that would be $1,000, right? So right off of that liability, you get $1,000 off. So if you owe $2,000, you now only owe $1,000, and you get to do that every single year, year after year, for as long as you live in the house and you have your Virginia Housing mortgage.
Okay. And one of the things I know that you offer as well is education.
I'm so proud of our community development area. They have an online class which is free. You can go to virginiahousing.com. You can go to the home buyer tab, and it is right there online. And I think anybody who's interested in buying a home this year should take this class. Everybody, the certificate is good for 2 years, and it teaches you, and I'll just show you, this is a book that you can get. If you take it live, you can take it live, but it's budgeting. It explains the entire process of buying a home, why you need an attorney, why it's important to have a real estate agent, why it's important to have a good lender, and what Virginia Housing can do for you as far as the down payment is concerned. So we have educated thousands of Virginians. We do it year after year, and you can take a class either online or you can find a class in person and take either one of those.
And everybody that I know have taken those classes, they come back well informed that we need a home inspection. We need to making sure that I'm getting a great rate. I want to make sure I'm working with the right realtor, and that's what these classes teach. So you want to go to somebody that's going to lead you and guide you in the right direction, and that's why Virginia Housing is so important. And again, a lot of my loans that I have, first-time home buyers, that's the first place I want to go to, because it's so important to have the right information. Now, talk to me about the SPAR program. Did I mention that right?
Yeah, you did. SPARK. It's Sponsoring Partnerships and Revitalizing Community. There are different agencies, in particular in Richmond. We have Housing Opportunities Made Equal. We have Maggie Walker Land Trust. We have the Richmond Project Home, I think. I'm not exactly sure if they're one of our sponsors, but they've applied for a grant with Virginia Housing. And what they do is they get a certain amount of money so they can buy down the interest rate for borrowers by 1 full percent. So if you're interested in buying a home this year, you could go through Housing Opportunities Made Equal, get your counseling, and then they would sign you up for the SPARK program. And when you go to get your loan, you can get a 1% interest rate reduction. And that's big, especially now with interest rates rising. There's a lot of lenders out there who offer Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta grant funds. We can stack grants with them. You can go through Project Home, you can go through Housing Opportunities Made Equal, Habitat for Humanity, and you can get different assistances from different agencies, and you can put it all on top of this loan and reduce your down payment, lower your monthly interest rate, and have a really affordable monthly payment, much less than what you would pay in rent.
What can you say that's going to encourage and empower first-time home buyers to take that step forward to come to you for financing?
What I really want to tell my first-time home buyers out there is just tell yourself yes. Yes, I can do this. Yes, there are funds available. Yes, I can afford this monthly payment. What happens is when you go in to see a mortgage loan officer, don't be afraid of them. They're going to help you. They're going to help you figure out your credit. They're going to help you figure out what you can afford. There are qualification guidelines that maybe say you can pay more than you really want to pay, but they can tell you exactly how much. If you say, I want a monthly payment of $1,500, they can work backward and say, then this is the sales price you should be looking at. Take advantage of these down payment assistance programs, grant programs, the knowledge of smart real estate agents to buy yourself an investment that is the biggest investment of your life.
The only way that you're going to achieve that greatness and success is take that step forward and say yes to home ownership. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
It's a celebration, buyers and sellers. This is Frank Rustin, the real estate champion, celebrating 35 years assisting first-time home buyers and sellers for all their real estate needs. And celebrating, I'm giving away 3 $50 gift cards. Register today by contacting the number on the screen or go to my website. Buyers and sellers, what are you waiting for? Call me today, Frank Rustin, your real estate champion, where home seekers' dreams come true. And remember, it's a celebration.
I am so excited because we talk about something that I love to talk about, and that is first-time home buyers. I've been in this business almost 35 years, and one of the first people I started out with was home buyers because I thought they really need to have a person that's going to represent them well, but also to educate them what it takes to have home ownership. And who I have with me today is a specialist in working with first-time home buyers. I have with me Mary White, and she's with Town Bank and been with Town Bank for 37 years. I've been in this business for 37 years. And she's going to talk about some grant money that's going to help you first-time home buyers get into a home. But before we talk about that, let's talk about who is Mary White and why you are a mortgage lender.
Well, I have been in this business, as Frank said, for 37 years. My focus has been on first-time home buyers because I believe that that's where the need is to serve, to help people in achieving the American dream, which is my passion. My husband, we've been married for 43 years. He is my assistant. We've been together doing this for 16 years, and we just really are very passionate together in feeling that God's called us to help people to achieve the American dream. And for a lot of people, it's something that they don't believe is something that can happen for them or is too difficult. And we do our best to try to make the process something that is achievable for people, that brings them hope and joy.
So let's talk about the Federal Home Loan Grant money. What does that take, and what is the Federal Home Loan Grant?
Okay, so the Federal Home Loan Bank offers a program that is geared for first-time home buyers primarily. It is available to participating banks that are members of the Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta, which of course Town Bank is. And it's a program that comes out each year. There is a finite period of time, usually between March and maybe September, when those funds are available. And it is a lien on the property that does stay on the property for 5 years, but then at the end of the 5 years, it is forgiven, and all of that equity is the homeowner's. And the funds for the grant can be used for both down payment and for closing costs.
Okay, excellent. So how much money would be provided, let's say just for a first-time home buyer versus a veteran versus somebody in the medical field, firefighters and police officers?
Absolutely. Well, the Federal Home Loan Bank has two different types of programs for their grant. The first is just generally for any first-time home buyer, and first-time home buyer is defined as someone who's not been on the deed to a property in the last 3 years. So if you were divorced and have been renting and you sold your house 3 or 4 years ago, you may actually be considered a first-time home buyer and qualify for those grants. So that's pretty awesome. That amount of funds is $7,500 per home buyer or per loan. And then there is a program called Community Partners. For that program, you actually don't have to be a first-time home buyer. You just cannot own any other property at the time that you close on your new home. That's a great program because that is geared specifically to veterans, to some of our community first responders and others who serve the community, such as folks who work at hospitals, at public education, whether it's secondary or primary education, EMS, firefighters, as well as even the people that work just for those departments. So it could be the janitor at your public school or the secretary. And that amount of money is $10,000, which is pretty amazing and is a nice chunk of change.
So with that said, is the same guideline for community partners as far as 5 years, or there is no time limit on that?
It's the same for both of those grant programs. The grant is filed as a lien and it is forgiven after 5 years. Now, if you do sell your house in less than 5 years, you don't necessarily owe the entire amount back. 1/5 of your total grant is forgiven each year up until 5 years, and then it's completely forgiven.
Okay. So you can have multi-grants on your home, such as Federal Home Loan Bank and Virginia Housing and Housing Opportunities Made Equal. Is that correct?
That is correct. Virginia Housing has a great grant program that is just forgiven at closing. So that's not filed as a lien, which is pretty awesome. And so for my buyers who qualify for the Federal Home Loan Bank grant funds, typically what I try to do is put them in a Virginia housing loan so that we can also get that grant at a bare minimum in addition to the Federal Home Loan grant. So that automatically, right out of the gate, gets you a minimum of 2 grants.
Gotcha. All right. So in looking at that, what does it take to qualify for the grant money?
So with qualifying for the grant money, as long as you have loan approval, that's the only credit requirement specific to the grant. They don't have any minimum credit scores, max debt ratios, which you do have on some of the other grants that you might be looking at trying to get. The one thing with the Federal Home Loan Grant, just like with all of the grant programs, is that we do have to look at household income. That is the income of everyone in the home, whether or not they are on the mortgage loan.
So give me an example of somebody looking to purchase a $300,000 home, for example, and their income is around $100,000. Would that put them in position because of what the income limits are, or what are the income limits?
Well, the income limits are based on the size of your household.
Okay.
So the more you have in the household, the higher that limit is. Unfortunately, none of the grant programs would go to, say, $100,000. But what we could do if you're a first-time home buyer and you have at least 3 people in your home is we could look at 100% financing through Virginia Housing.
Oh.
So there are some other great options to get you into a house, but with very little out of your pocket. With the Federal Home Loan Bank grant, they don't have any credit score requirements or anything. They just, as long as the lender has approved the loan, and the lender is fine with the score, then they are okay. With some of the other local grant programs, they are going to look at things like collections and debt ratio, and that may be a little tighter and stricter than what the mortgage loan even allows for.
Okay. Because for me, working with first-time home buyers, they like to see a credit score, somewhere above the 630 mark. Is that still standing true, or has it increased at all?
Well, with Virginia Housing, the minimum credit score is 620. What we do find, though, as lenders, is that we work with automated underwriting systems through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and it's the same system for every lender across the country. And those systems sometimes are very difficult on lower scored buyers, credit challenged buyers. So sometimes, even though we might say, yes, we can effectively do a loan at a 620, we've also got to be able to get that automated approval. And if we can't do that, then we may need to work with the home buyer to get that score up a little bit higher.
What I've found in some versus, lenders versus brokers, the guideline is saying that maybe you can get away with a 600 score, a 580 score. So why is that different from a mortgage lender versus mortgage brokers?
Well, it's not necessarily different per se, because ultimately we are all still selling to the same investors. It's just a matter of whether the lender chooses to work at a lower credit score or not. Very often with the programs at lower credit scores, they require a higher down payment, they require tighter debt ratios, they require more money in the bank. And so for a lot of first-time home buyers, though, that is very frustrating because they just don't even have that kind of money.
Yeah.
So that's why some lenders choose to go on and offer that, because everybody wants to hear that I can do my loan at a 580 credit score, but no one gives you the details until you start talking to the lender to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
So I just think that for first-time home buyers, we are happy to work with folks to give them some guidance on how to improve their credit, because then that enables them to take advantage of grant money, Virginia housing programs that have good interest rates, so that they don't end up in a program where they may struggle to make the mortgage payment.
So I would like to ask a question here. What can you say to encourage, first-time home buyers to overcome that fear and take this step for home ownership?
Well, first of all, I want to tell you it is always a good time to buy a home. Don't get intimidated by interest rates, because what we're seeing is that rents are going up so high that I still have people being able to purchase homes with the higher interest rates, and their mortgage payment is still not more than their rent, because rents are just so high. So it's always a great time to buy a home. I would encourage you to talk to a lender if you are comfortable with them. If your realtor has referred you to them, I'm happy to talk to you. We can encourage you. We can share with you what to do to improve your credit if that's the issue. And then we can put you in touch with housing counselors who will also work with you for free and guide you. And we have so many success stories from doing that.
Yes, and that's why I choose Mary White, because she have helped a lot of my first-time home buyers become successful. And my ultimate goal is just put that smile on their face, put the keys in their hands, and watch them just say, thank you, God, that I finally went through the process. It was a tough process, but as long as you got people that's going to encourage you, empower you, and you keep a positive attitude, there's no question, I will be there to put keys in your hands. So Mary, thank you so much for being here, to share your knowledge and wisdom to help our first-time home buyers become homeowners. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
I have Yumika beside me, and she's going to make sure she could give her testimony about her relationship with me as her real estate champion. So tell me, how do we actually meet as your realtor?
You helped my mom purchase her first home, and when it was time for me to get ready to purchase a home, who did I think of? Mr. Rustin. But I knew that Mr. Rustin was the proper person to help me with purchasing my home. He's an honest man. He gave me advice like a father, and I just thank him so much to have helped bless me and my family over the years. You have been more like a family member, friend, counselor, relative. I'm just blessed to have had you as long as I have had you in my life, and I would recommend anyone to the champion, Mr. Frank Rustin.
Outstanding. But thank you so much for your commitment and dedication to me.
Thank you, Mr. Rustin.
Thank you. When I met Gloria, I understand she was going through some challenges, but for me, my whole thing is challenges become opportunities. So right now we have Gloria, and she's going to talk about how I became a real estate champion.
Frank, you are my real estate champion today, tomorrow, and forever. Because my son, Michael, introduced you to me. And I'm so thankful. Because you just took over. And you made things so smooth and easy for me. And that happened because God was in the midst of it.
Yes. What has been your experience in working with me as your real estate champion?
It was wonderful because you came out being concerned about me. You wasn't concerned about the money that you're going to make on the end. You was concerned about me.
This is my real estate ministry. This is where I serve people. This is one of the biggest decisions they can make in their life, a person can make in their life, and I don't take that lightly. My whole job is to get a person to trust me so I can lead them in the right direction.
Yeah.
So any words you want to share with our audience, why should they use me as a real estate champion?
But if you want someone that's for real and not about the money, about the person, go with Frank Rustin, because he's the man.
Whew, I'm the man. Thank you so much, Gloria.
Thank you for joining Frank Rustin, your real estate champion, where home seeker dreams come to life. You will be empowered with knowledge on how to build wealth in the real estate market, estate planning, and programs for first-time home buyers. It's time to move on up with the real estate champion, Frank Rustin.